It's that time of year to score a Black Friday deal on TVs, electronics, clothes, and other things. But what if you want to score a Black Friday deal on real estate? We are going to run through 7 property types where you might be able to get a great deal on them. Plus, we'll have a few more tips to make sure you get a Black Friday deal on real estate. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping real people with real data make real decisions in this crazy market. And of course, right now, you may be thinking, well, it's absolutely crazy to buy because of all the uncertainty. The certainty in uncertainty is that there are going to be some good deals. There are still sellers who need to sell, and when demand is as low as it is right now, there will be deals to be had if you're out there shopping. Now, of course, on Black Friday, when you're looking at other things like TVs or electronics or whatever it is you're looking for on Black Friday, there's plenty of deals out there, but it may not be the right deal for you. So just because you're shopping doesn't mean you have to buy, but I'd hate to see you miss out on a potential deal because you're not even shopping. So make sure this Black Friday and through the rest of the fourth quarter that you're out there looking at real estate if it makes sense for you to buy. And this is one that's going to continue to be more and more common now that the foreclosure moratoria are over, and that is the notice of default or notice of trustee sale, or the equivalent in your area. If folks are missing payments and these notices are being filed, you may have a motivated seller on your hands. And I encourage you to do the research, whether you do it on your own or through your agent. It may not be obvious, it may not be in the listing, but this is publicly available information that you can find. And don't forget that just because these notices are being filed, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're underwater. They're just not making their payments. They may still have equity, and it will behoove them to sell before that equity starts to disappear. And another property type to be looking for are those properties where the property tax isn't being paid. Now, some people, when they have a mortgage, they will have impound accounts or escrow accounts where the funds go when they go to the lender, and the lender will pay the property taxes. That is relatively common, but there's plenty of loan types out there where it's up to the owner of the home to make their property tax payment separately. And what ends up happening is when money gets tight, folks may stop paying their property taxes. So this could potentially be a motivated seller if money's tight. So in many areas, this is publicly available data if you know where to look. And if you have a good agent who knows where to look, make sure you reach out to him or her to help you find properties where the owner isn't paying the property tax. And another one is a tenant-occupied property, and this has been particularly difficult for the past couple years for landlords, especially tenants who haven't been paying rent. Landlords have not been able to evict them, and in some places like Los Angeles City and County, they still can't evict them. So a tenant-occupied property may offer a benefit to you in getting a better deal, particularly if it's one where the tenant isn't paying. Now, of course, you have to take the headache on, so you have to make sure that you get a big enough haircut in the price to make sure that the hair on the deal is worth it. But it may actually benefit you if you're willing to take on that headache. In many cases, if the property still is tenant occupied, the landlord may need to sell. Most areas of California and throughout the country, you can actually have a tenant move out before selling, particularly for houses and condos. So if the landlord leaves the tenant in, there may be motivation in selling. They don't have time to get the tenant out. So make sure you note that and ask those questions to see why the tenant is still in place while the landlord's selling. And here's a subtle one that you may not have thought of before, and that is strange listing days or times. And what do I mean by this? This would be properties that hit the market on days where it really doesn't make sense to hit the market. So an example would be on a holiday or a day or two before a big holiday, or maybe in the middle of the night. This could potentially show a motivated seller who needs to get rid of the property quickly. Or the flip side, it could be an agent that didn't give them good advice on how and when to properly market the home. But I would be on the lookout for this one. If you see a strange day or time for listing a property, it may be worth a phone call. And in many cases, you'll also see that it doesn't have many pictures, maybe just one of the outside or maybe some lousy interior pictures, which again could show it's somebody who's motivated or again an agent that didn't do their job. Another one is quick price drops and or big price drops. So if you see a seller that is quickly dropping the price in maybe a few days or a week after being listed, that's good. They realize that the price is the problem and they're not getting offers, but they may be motivated. Also, a big price reduction obviously shows motivation as well. Just be warned that a big enough price reduction could bring additional buyers to the table and it could get bid up. So keep an eye on those properties. And another big one is properties that fall out of escrow or fall from being under contract and come back active to the market. And if this happens once or twice or more, you may find that you have a motivated seller on your hands who just wants to get the property sold. Make sure you're following up through your agent if you have one, or if you're working with a listing agent, to see if a deal is getting shaky, because it may not actually go back active. You may get a shot at the property if you're out there shopping to step in if the buyer decides to not move forward. So this is another big category where you can potentially negotiate a good deal if you are the second or third or fourth buyer that comes to the table. And the last one before we dive into some other important tips is long days on market. So properties that have been on for a while, they are being ignored by the market most likely. And if you show up and express interest, maybe you can negotiate a better deal. Now, the flip side is a lot of times a property that's been on the market for a while, it's an unrealistic seller and they may not be willing to adjust their price. But even that seller may suddenly wake up one day and have something that changes in his or her life to where they need to sell. So don't ignore a property that stays on the market at a long time with no price reductions at all. It may be ripe for touring and writing an offer under the right circumstances. And a few more quick tips as you're out there shopping: need for speed. And in many cases, if you find a seller who is motivated, being able to close quickly will help you negotiate a better deal. Now, of course, cash offers can close on their own timeline and can often close very quickly. But financing offers these days, because so few loans are being originated right now, talk to your lender and see how quickly they can get the loan done. You may find that it could be as short as 17 days or 21 days. This speed could make the difference. And getting a good deal and finding a seller who says, that's it, I want this gone before the end of the year, or I want this gone very quickly. So definitely the need for speed could help. On the flip side, find out the real motivation. There could be a need to slow down a longer escrow or a longer time period because they haven't found something else or need to go somewhere else. So find out the true motivation behind why they need to sell. And don't forget, it's not all about negotiating the lowest price necessarily. And I know that sounds crazy, but maybe there's other terms you can get that make as much, if not more, sense for you. So asking for closing costs from the seller would be a key thing. And closing costs can cover many things, including property taxes, HOA dues, etc. And they can pay for future HOA dues and property taxes. So think of that, negotiating as much as you can in closing costs. And of course, another big one would be negotiating for a mortgage buy down, whether it's a permanent or a temporary mortgage buy down. A lot of sellers are willing to do that to help reduce your rate as a buyer, and that could make a big difference for you as well. And we've done a video on mortgage buy downs that I encourage you to check out. And don't forget that we can help you find and negotiate that Black Friday deal in Southern California. And if it's outside Southern California, we have a network of great agents who can help you get that Black Friday steal of a deal on a home. Here's to a happy and healthy holiday season for you and yours. We wish you the very best. We'd love to have you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter so you get these updates every Sunday. It would be a little free gift to you. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. And check out this next video for the latest on this crazy housing market. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.